The Maple Leafs go up 3-0 in the Battle of Ontario thanks to an unlikely unsung hero. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. You're trying to go up to Ottawa for Game 4, maybe see the Maple Leafs punch their ticket into the second round with a full sweep of the Sens. You can get $20 off those tickets. Travel up the highway there and go to the CTC. Go out there and you can use the code LOCKEDONNHL. Save $20 using Game Time. What's going on, Dave? How we feeling? Maple Leafs with another overtime victory, 3-2. The Maple Leafs win Game 3 and take a stranglehold 3-0 series lead on the Ottawa Senators.
Feels fantastic. Feels absolutely fantastic. Now, in the moment, I'll admit, didn't like the fact that we went to another overtime. I'll say this. You did. I'm not blaming you this time. You didn't put it out there, so I'm not blaming you this time. But yeah, I mean, it just feels like this team understand, like they are ready for the moment. They true like. Whatever Ottawa threw at them, and Ottawa, in my opinion, threw the kitchen sink at Toronto in this game.
Yeah.
And Toronto didn't flinch. They didn't break. I think that's a big credit. They knew that Ottawa was going to come out. And we said it, like Ottawa is going to come out a very desperate team. They're going to be really pushing it in this game. And yeah, the Leafs looked like at times they were on their heels. But they didn't. They know that the best thing for them to do is to weather the storm and take advantage of opportunities.
Right? Be patient. They've talked about that a lot this year where, things may not be going their way in the first, second period, but if they're patient, things will come. And, things opened up for them eventually. And yeah, they scored on the power play. So that kept going. That kept cooking. Matthews finally got on the board there with a beautiful little touch pass from Mitch Marner. I mean, what a play that was. Fooled everybody. Even Allmark was still, peeking over his shoulder. Meanwhile, the puck's already in the back of the net. And then they get help from the unlikely overtime god himself, Simon Benoit, with a little floater that makes its way through the net. It's just Simon Benoit just took a little rip and it makes its way through the goal. There was a screen applied in front by Austin Matthews, and the puck goes into the back of the net, and all of a sudden he puts his hands up, didn't know quite how to celebrate, and everyone came rushing to him, and the Maple Leafs win that game 3-2 in overtime. But that's what playoff hockey is all about, isn't it? Like finding those unlikely heroes, getting those random goals from those random players at that random time, right? That's when you think about teams that go on cup runs, there's always a couple of moments that really stick out to you. Like Kevin Bieksa talks about it all the time. The goal that Bieksa wasn't a goal scorer for the Canucks, right? Like he's a stay-at-home defenseman, but he had that one goal that knuckler that kind of ringed around the boards. I think it was against the Sharks, if I'm not mistaken. I think that may have been the one that sent him to the Cup final or something like that. But it's just those types of goals from that type of player, Simon Benoit, that really, really can help a team. And I just can't help but feel like how through 3 games so far, Dave, it just feels as though everything's going so right for Toronto. Like to the point where we're getting goals from Simon Benoit, brother. Like everything's coming up rosy right now for the Buds.
Everything is coming up rosy, but it's because they're also doing the right things. right? How did you look at the two of the goals they scored? The second, I see that more so the second and the third goal, hunting for the loose pucks. You have Mitch Marner behind the net finding an open Austin Matthews on the side of the goal there. Just quick plays, not overdoing it, not overthinking it. Bang, bang action. Overtime goal, Austin Matthews wins a key faceoff, and Benoit. Yeah, you know what? Our defensemen haven't really done a good job of scoring goals. Worst team in the league in scoring goals from defensemen. What does Simon Benoit do, though? He finds a way to get the puck through. There's a lot of traffic, and Omar can't, twice. Linus Omar is fooled. He doesn't see the puck, right?
Yeah.
But it's doing those things that lead to the goals, right? If you look at, everyone talks about the underlying numbers and how Ottawa's had high percent of the chances, but they haven't been able to make the little things work out well for them, right? Finding ways to get pucks through. The Leafs had how many blocks in the last game? I didn't even see how many blocks they had in this game.
They so far through the series. Hold on, I was literally just reading about this. Myrtle put out a piece today on the Athletic talking about the 6 reasons why the Maple Leafs are winning games, or why this year's different. And he talked about the block shots. And so far through the series, the Maple Leafs have blocked 67 shots so far. 67 shots through 60 minutes. That's you're looking at, what's that, over 20 blocks a game, 22-ish blocks a game. That's pretty impressive stuff.
And that makes a team like Ottawa very frustrated because, again, they're doing all the right things to get possession, to get time in the zone, especially on the power play, right? All those power play opportunities.
Yeah.
And what do the Leafs do? They get into the lanes and they don't give Ottawa anything to shoot at. They don't give them those open lanes to the net. Yeah, the power play goal that they did allow, again, that's Ottawa finally executing something correctly where you get the traffic in front and you find a way to get the puck through. But I guarantee Craig Berube is like, don't let them get anything through. If you're going to be in the lane, you better block that shot that's coming through.
Yeah.
And those are things you have to appreciate that the Leafs are doing well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's another big difference between, what we've seen in the years past in this season. We talked about how this blue line gives you a little bit more hope because they've got big bodies who are willing to get in front of pucks, as opposed to, the Lilligrens of the world who might flamingo every now and then, the Travis Dermotts who weren't, known for blocking shots, the Tyson Berries, they weren't blocking shots out there. Well, now you got Simon Benoit out there eating pucks. He had 2 blocks last night. Morgan Riley had 4 blocks last night. Oliver Ekman-Larsson had a block. Brandon Carlo 3. Jake McCabe 4. Chris Tanev only credited with 2, but he probably had 2 or 3 more realistically. How many shots that guy blocks every game? It is a big difference. It for sure is a big difference. So, the shot attempts, yeah, they were kind of out of whack for Ottawa in this series, but they haven't been able to get a lot of pucks through. You're right. And it's because the Leafs, their defense have really stepped up. They've got now 4 goals from their blue line, 4 goals from the blue line. That's just 4. Yeah. 2 from Riley, 1 from OEL. And then now Simon Benoit makes that 4 goals. So after only scoring I think 17 or 18 throughout the regular season, they already have 4 goals from the blue line in the first 3 games of the playoffs. So, that secondary scoring from the blue line, that's been a massive difference. The shot blocking, we talked about, again, just the fact that this defense is the best that the Leafs have had in years when it comes to the playoffs. And we felt like it was going to be a strength for them. It certainly has been. And, I'd be curious to go and ask Ross and Pilsey of Locked On Senators when they put out their top 10 defense list and they had guys like Morgan Riley down at number 9, and Simon Benoit wasn't even on their list. I don't think Benoit was even on their list in their top 10. And he's been playing a hero. Game 2, he picks off the pass that leads to the game-winning goal, provides the screen. Game 3, the puck comes off his stick that ends the game in overtime. Yeah, the defense has been great. The goaltending has been fantastic. And how about the core four coming up big as well? Let's continue to break down the game next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast. We'll get to the 3 stars. And apparently, there's some rumblings that there was an incident that occurred last night in pregame. We'll tell you about that too next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles like EA College Football, NHL 25, Call of Duty, whatever you want to play. It's as easy as streaming your favorite shows online. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies, TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, etc. You can play high quality games at a fraction of the cost of the console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games wherever you go. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire Stick TV, Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and the Fire TV Cube. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you here on the show. We're reacting to a Maple Leafs 3-2 win in Game 3. They're now up 3-0 in the best of 7. Just one more win, and they move on to the second round. And it's shocking, Dave, that the Leafs have themselves a 3-0 lead. Like that's not what the Leafs do. This is completely different. The vibes have been different the entire series, though, which I think should give people a lot of just a lot of solace in how things are kind of turning out. And I think one of the biggest things that I'm watching in this series that hasn't quite been there in years past is the fact that the core four is just dialed in and producing. Like, how often have we sat here and judged the core four and talked about how, dude, these guys just can't get it done in the playoffs. They're choke artists in the playoffs. Come spring, all they think about is golfing, not a Stanley Cup. Well, it seems different this year, man. Like this team is ready to rock. Mitch Marner's playing at an outstanding level. He's got 6 points through 2 games so far. To me, that's been one of the biggest differences so far, and a big reason why this team's up 3-0. Last night thought they played well again, and the core four, they've been fantastic.
You look at it as a few stats that I looked at last night. Obviously, the last time the Leafs had a 3-0 series lead, 2001 against the Ottawa Senators. So kind of just poetic that the last time they had a 3-0 series lead was against this Ottawa Senators team. The Leafs record went up 3-0 in a series. They're 6-0 when leading 3-0 in a series. It's very rare for this team to have an advantage like this in a series. And it just speaks to, what we've been asking for this team for so many years. Make it easy on yourselves. How many times have we come on this podcast? They lost game 1. Or they win game 1, great, but then they go on to lose game 2, right? It's if you want to go deep in a series, you need to find a way to make... sometimes they say going through the grind is beneficial, definitely, but you don't need to go through that grind in round 1.
Yeah.
Right. You look at, I think the Leafs are the only team with a 3-0 series lead right now.
Yep.
Now Florida looks like maybe they'll be the second team with the way that series has gone,
which is crazy to me, but we could talk about that later.
But again, you look at the additions that they made. They brought in established players, veterans, guys who know what it takes to get it done.
Yeah.
And I guarantee so many of those players are like up 3-0. And you heard it from Marta last night The next game is going to be even harder. They know it's going to be harder, but they also understand the opportunity to end this series, and you're just watching and waiting now.
Yeah.
Especially because that Florida Tampa series started later too.
Yeah, and let those guys beat each other up, right? You let those guys beat each other up as much as possible. You know, you try and make quick work of Ottawa, and then you can just sit back, rest up, and get ready to go for the second series. But yeah, to put a bow on the core four chat, 19 points through 4 games.
Crazy.
Through 3 games, sorry. 19 points combined through 3 games for the core four. That's what you're looking for, right? And it's not like they're getting crazy production, deep down the lineup. Like they've got a couple goals from Nyes, obviously, but he's kind of inching himself into that, core 4+ Nyes guy, or even Morgan Riley, if you want to go the Fab Five. Like, let's go with the Fab Five, right? Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, Riley. You want to add Nyes in there. Outside of those players, they only have 3 goals from other players. Benoit, Ekman Larson, and then Max Domi had that goal in overtime after a terrible game. Like, so it's solely because they're finally producing. Because imagine this was a regular playoff where those guys aren't producing and not scoring goals, team wouldn't be winning. Like, that's the difference. That's what they've been waiting on. They've been paid to be these players, and they just, for whatever reason, have not been able to deliver for the Maple Leafs. Now they're finally delivering, and we've said this all along. Just like when, Tampa's top players play this way, when the Kucherovs and the Points and the Hedmans of the world and the Stamkoses are out there putting up points, they're winning games. Same thing with the McKinnons and the Rantanens. They were winning games, the Makars, and obviously Connor and Leon. Like, those two are at their best, piling up points. The Edmonton Oilers are winning games and going on deep playoff runs. The Leafs are finally getting that type of production out of their top players, and it's resulted in a 3-0 series lead through the first week of the NHL playoffs, with Game 4 coming up on Saturday. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get to our 3 stars of the game. And apparently there's a little bit of drama unfolding here in the Battle of Ontario. We'll get to that also next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, it's unlike anything else. The intensity, the speed, the energy in the building, it's next level. And thanks to Game Time, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever. Game Time is a fast way to grab playoff tickets. Even for the most must-see matchups, prices actually drop the closer you get to puck drop, and with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off your tickets. Their all-in pricing shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. The app even allows you to get some panoramic seat views so you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. And with Game Time ticket coverage, I know I'm protected, whether it's a cancellation protection, job loss insurance, or their 24-hour return guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use a code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you here on the podcast. You can find the Locked On Leafs pod wherever you get your podcasts, and also up on YouTube. If you are enjoying the content here today, we ask that you would please subscribe if you haven't already done so. We would greatly appreciate that. And hey, you want to keep yourself locked into what's going on with the Maple Leafs throughout the entire playoff run, do it with us here in the Locked On Leafs podcast. The Maple Leafs with a 3-2 win in overtime. Simon Benoit playing hero for the Buds. It's now 2 games in a row that he's been a big focal point here in overtime to get it done for Toronto. Yeah, Simon Benoit, not Tanev, not Riley, not OEL, not Jake McCabe, Simon freaking Benoit. It's funny because it almost, reminds me of, like, I don't know why this always sticks out to me. But, there's those unsung heroes in every playoff run. The one that always sticks out to me, and I would almost put it as the definition of unsung hero. Remember when the Edmonton Oilers made that run in '06? Fernando Pisani. Like
Oh,
that Fernando Pisani was just like the ultimate unsung hero where it's
yeah.
like didn't really do a whole lot throughout his career. It was just like kind of a depth piece. And then just came up huge. He had like 13 goals in that playoff run for the Whalers for some reason. And it was just unbelievable. Now, obviously, difference. He's a forward and Benoit's a defenseman. I'm not expecting Simon Benoit to rip 13 home, but it's just like, there's going to be folklore for years about, remember Simon Benoit, playoff specimen, Simon Benoit, overtime hero, overtime champion, overtime expert, if you will. Like that's how we're going to be talking about this guy moving forward based on the last couple of games. And he was my third star of the game last night. Obviously you end up with the game winner, Dave. Ends up with a few block shots. The underlying numbers weren't too rosy, but again, they really haven't been for anyone in this series. But you make a big play at the right time, you win the game in overtime. You're going to show up on our 3 stars category.
I wanted to lump him and Ulrich Larson together because I
Mm,
thought Ulrich Larson was fantastic in this game.
yeah,
Like anytime I thought the Senators were gonna have life and going to, you got odd man rushes or something. The gap control he had was excellent, knocking guys off, off momentum when they looked like that the Senators were going to break in with some good momentum. Like there were so many good things I saw from Ulrich Larson. That's what you get. What a veteran defenseman like him brings to the lineup. So I was really impressed with. Obviously Benoit with the OT winner, but I just thought that pairing, especially with OEL, yeah, maybe they spent a lot of time in their zone, but there wasn't. I don't think they were on for a goal against.
nope, no, they were not.
So you win your minutes, do your best to win your minutes, and that's what they've been doing. And it's nothing fancy, just smart. Put your nose down, get the job done.
Absolutely. So we'll give some love to the third pair. With my second star, I give love to the second pair as well. I thought that Chris Tanev and Jake McCabe, man, like what more can you ask of this duo, right? Like just out there playing so reliable defensively, blocking shots left, right, and center. When those two were out on the ice, they spent 13 minutes and 16 seconds out on the ice together at 5-on-5. And when they were on the ice, the Maple Leafs outshot the Senators 5-2. Outshot the Senators 5-2 and had 61% expected goal differential when they were out there. Scoring chances were 5-3, and they only gave up one high danger chance, and that's with a majority of defensive zone faceoffs, like being relied upon in their own end, going up against the toughest players on the opposition. Now, granted, the Sens had last change, so they could, skirt around that a wee little bit last night compared to at home. But I mean, the guy still, the forward he played the most, Tim Stützle, he was on there on the ice with Chris Tanev, and Tim Stützle were on the ice for half his minutes. So, it's not as though they line matched to get him against fourth liners. They still had to play, the best of the best. So I want to give some love to that second line there, or second pair there with McCabe and Tanev.
Yeah, they continued to be rock solid. My second star was Mitch Marner. Actually, really more of the top line.
Yeah.
Right. I was a little frustrated with Matthew Nyes on the power play where he's left open in front and he decided not to shoot it. It looked like he had a hard time corralling the puck. Then he gets it again alone in front and he does the behind the back pass. I'm like, what are you doing? And then it goes to the net. I'm like, keep doing that. Like it was just like one of those. And then just that play, that second goal was just like put in the Louvre, picturesque. Absolutely amazing. And again, when your top guys are like they're in a right, like things are going well for them when they do things like that, and it looks easy. It looks easy for them.
how often have I said on this podcast, like, I feel like I've been beating the drum on the Marner train for a long time on this
Mhm.
podcast. Like, everyone was going wild for Willie at the beginning of the season. TSN and Sports that were ranking Nylander ahead of Marner at the beginning of the year. And I'm like, that's just absolute lunacy. Like, okay, Nylander's going to score more goals, obviously, and he did. But Marner's the better player. And Marner, in a lot of ways, is the engine of this Maple Leafs team. When things are going well, it's usually because that guy is playing confident and that guy is making spectacular plays. And you saw that happen last night. So he's doing it defensively, killing penalties. On the power play, he's been a magician. And then plays like that in behind the net, just a cute little touch pass, little scoot scoot. No one even knew where the heck the puck was until it was in the back of the net. Only Austin Matthews saw that play kind of develop, and he made no issues putting that into the back of the net for his first of the season. But man, yeah, Mitch Marner, man, just the playoff that he's having is the playoff that he needed to have. And not that I want to turn this into contract discussion, but you can only imagine that
There it is.
it is becoming, an expensive deal if the Maple Leafs are going to want to retain Mitchy Marner at this point. But we're not going to go there. There's no need to get into the negatives here in this game. No need whatsoever. But yeah, Mitch Marner again, just an absolute beautician. What do you have? A couple more points last night, 2 more points last night. Yeah, 2 assists, one on the power play, and then the one on the Matthews goal. And that's now 6 points through 3 games, averaging 2 points per game. Pretty good, if you ask me. Pretty freaking solid. But yeah, my first star, I mean, again, Stolarz was just great again, like just fantastic. But like I was gonna mention, I had Marner, but we just went into Marner, so I guess I'll give a little honorable mentioning and give Anthony Stolarz a an honorable mention because again, real solid. Only gave up a couple of goals. Wasn't tested a whole lot in terms of high danger opportunities. I think Toronto only allowed, if I'm not mistaken, last night. How many high opportunities? 7. They allowed 7 high danger chances. So he stopped them when he needed to. So didn't allow a whole lot last night to Ottawa, but he was there to make the saves when he needed to. 9 if you include power play. So 9 chances in total, high danger chances, and he was pretty solid again last night. Did enough, Dave. He made one more save than the guy on the other side, and that's all you can ask of your goaltender.
Well, that's it, right? That's all we ask of Stoli. And I had him as my first star because Ottawa was really pouring it on early.
Yeah,
Like that's a different game if Stolarz isn't solid in that first period. And yeah, I didn't like the second goal, but you know what? Considering how this series has gone, if that's the bad goal that Stolarz lets in, you'll take it.
That's the first goal that he, like 3 games into the series. That's the first goal that's cleanly beat him.
Yeah.
And like even then, like there was traffic, but like the first goal that didn't come off a rebound or make a weird bounce or come off a player's
Or
shin or
screen.
skate, or a real solid screen. I mean, but even that was like there was someone in front there. There was a
Yeah.
screen there for sure from Ottawa. So like it's not as though it beat him clean, like it was a terrible goal to give up, but it's the first one that like didn't redirect off something and go into the back of the net or a bad bounce off of a rebound. So that's a positive, if you ask me. That's you give up one goal like that through 3 games, man, you're seeing the puck. You are seeing the puck very, very well. Anthony Stolarz, that's now 11 straight wins for Stolarz. Won the final 8 games of the regular season for himself. His final 8 starts. He's now won 3 in a row here in Toronto, or here in the playoffs. It's funny coming into it. We always had this goalie battle, like Joseph Hall's done it before. He's played playoff hockey. Stolarz has not had a playoff start in his career. Do we trust him in the postseason? Yeah, I think that conversation's done. There's immense trust in Anthony Stolarz. He has completely copy and pasted his regular season into the playoffs, and man, the Leafs, they're winning in all aspects right now, Dave. Like they've got the better forward group, they got the better defensive group, and they're. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Stolarz has outdueled Linus Ullmark to this point, and it's not even close. And we only need to get into the special teams advantage. We all know that that's 100% been in Ottawa or in Toronto's favor as well. So it's no surprise, I guess, when you think about it that way, that the Leafs are up 3-0 in the series. But it's still kind of shocking to see based on how the last 8 years have gone for the Leafs, specifically in round one. I kept referencing this situation that has popped up. Apparently, I don't know if you saw this tweet that came out just as we were about to record, but Darren Dreger just tweeted this out moments ago. Hold on, let me find the tweet. Source indicates that this incident, hold on, at one point there were some pucks being lobbed by the Sens in warm-up. I did see Stutzla stop a puck. Okay, sorry, here it is. A twist in the Battle of Ontario with allegations of pregame shenanigans last night. Sources say the NHL is looking at an incident in warm-up prior to the Game 3 between the Leafs and Senators, undetermined whether the league discipline will follow. And then there was a follow-up tweet from Bruce Garriock about that said, at one point, there were some pucks being lobbed by the Sens in warm-up. I did see Stutzla stop a lobbed puck near center, found it odd, and didn't think anything of it at the time. That was the only thing that I noticed. And then Darren Dreger followed up and says, source indicates this is the incident in question. Sens players firing pucks at Stolarz in warm-up. So it sounds like last night and in the CTC, Sens players were firing pucks down the ice during warm-ups, and it didn't phase Stolarz, but I'll be curious to see if anything comes of that. But that's kind of interesting.
Very, very interesting. So yeah, it's funny because Bruce Garriock, I'm just reading the tweet. He says Stutzla stopped a lobbed puck.
Yeah.
While Dreger said Sens players were firing pucks.
Well,
so
yeah.
We're getting a little bit of
one covers Toronto, one covers Ottawa, right?
Yeah, we need the unbiased third party to give us the. I mean, there's footage of it. Like that's the thing.
Oh yeah.
Like it's very easy. Anybody who can pull up. I mean, I could probably find it for us. Like the gamesmanship. Like I remember those series with like Pronger against the Blackhawks, right? Where he would take the puck out of the net when the Flyers would lose and things like that. That's just stuff that they do to try to get into the other, like the mental battle, the mental game.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Not working for Ottawa though. I'll say that. Not working.
Yeah, it's not really working well. Hey, but at least they got a 70 as the boys on Locked On Sens said, 70-30 split in the home crowd. Congratulations, guys.
That's the win. Put the banner up. Put the banner up. Right next to the 5 regular season wins against Toronto, you could put 70-30 split Sens fans in the playoffs against Toronto. Those are the banners that can go up at the Canadian Tire Center because, I don't think there's going to be any Stanley Cup banner this year. Not a division banner, that's for sure. But you know who can win those things? Well, the one's already checked off the list for the Maple Leafs, the Atlantic Division Stanley Cup. Still in sights too, buddy. And they got to win one more game to move on to round 2. And then there's 12 to go at that point. Game 4 goes down tomorrow night. It'll be in Ottawa once again, 7 o'clock. Puck drop. Nick Robertson was pulled from this game for Max Pacioretty, who was healthy and ready to go. So Patches got back into the fold. Would you anticipate any more changes going into Game 4, or do you expect for this lineup to probably just carry over and Nicky Bobby probably sits out another game?
Yeah, I don't see Nick Robertson coming back in. Only thing you can maybe wonder is does David Kampf get back in if you want to get a little bit more of the speed element, but I think
who is the question for who? Like,
I know
you take Pacioretty out, and I don't know. I think you probably roll with this line for a little bit.
Yeah, You got a 3-0 series lead. I think you can. I think you can stick with it.
Yeah. You'll have a couple of practices while the rest of the first round's, ongoing. Maybe that's when you try and tinker with some lines a little bit, try and see if something works with some other players, try and get some guys healthy. Maybe that's, when David Camp comes back into the fold, or perhaps they just look at him and say, hey, you're not one of the 12 best forwards at this point. Maybe that is possible. And he's a little redundant, and he's, worked himself out of the lineup, unfortunately. I think that is very plausible and very possible. When we return on Monday for the next Locked On Leafs podcast, Dave, will we be gearing up for a round 2 or for a game 5?
I'm hoping it's round 2, and I with the way things have gone, can't see why not. Can't see why not.
It's very possible. It's very possible that we could be looking directly at a sweep here right now. I think last night was such a killer, such a shot to the arm for the Ottawa Senators. I think when they tied it up there in the third, I think they legitimately thought that that was their chance to get back into the series. They tie the game up midway through that period, and they just try and get one more goal and cut the lead in half. It's 2-1 with a chance to tie things up in the second game on Saturday. And unfortunately, it's not how the chips fell for them. Simon Benoit, our version of Cale Makar, apparently Quinn Hughes, rifles one through some traffic into the back of the net just a couple of minutes into overtime. And boom, Maple Leafs up 3-0. I think we're going to get a sweep at this point. I think the Sens are dejected. Did you hear Brady Tkachuk's comments after the game?
Yeah, the whole Boston down 3-0.
Yeah, I watched the 04 Boston Red Sox Yankees documentary. Was it the Road? No, what's it called? Something October.
Oh yeah,
Road to October, Red October. Anyways, the Red Sox, on when they won the World Series back in 04, they came back down 0-3 against the Yankees and went on to win the World Series. Said he watched that recently. He said he likes the adversity, and he said it with a smile on his face. So we'll see if it's just lip service, if he's just trying to put on a smile for his team, or if he really has a couple screws loose and is going to give, the Leafs fits in game 4, because still quite hasn't made his mark, I would say, at least, physically, I would say, in this series. And I would think that they'd want to do that in game number 4. All right, that does it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday, game 4, tomorrow night, Saturday in Ottawa, 7 o'clock puck drop. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.